When you first meet him and he does the truffle shuffle, which I've been asked to do many times over the last decade as a fat joke, I think, but I didn't know what it was, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Now I do, and will absolutely do the truffle shuffle anytime someone asks me.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Is This for Kids? Why are you laughing? Because I said ladies and gentlemen?
You always say it so excited, and then I jump a little bit, and I feel like it looks like it's a surprise that I'm here.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
Start your engine.
I once stayed in a hospital room that was themed like that at a children's hospital, and it caused me to look that whole thing up and found out that the first time a woman ever raced in the Indy 500, they said, what was it? Together with the first ever lady to race in the Indianapolis 500, ladies or gentlemen, start your engines. Did you know that?
Interesting. No, I did not know that. That's very cool. That is cool.
Random.
I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie MrsRuvi Ruvalcaba.
And this whole show, Is This for Kids, is to help parents discern their children's digital diet. How'd you like that?
That was so alliterative.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Alliteration. I was a English minor, believe it or not, which I have a hard time believing it. I have you're one of my 3 friends that I will text something I want to tweet and be like, is this grammatically correct? Because I'm just really bad at grammar.
Yeah.
But alliteration was the only thing I knew. So when the teacher would be like, what did you realize about this book? I'd be like, the alliteration in chapter 3 and this quote. And then that's all I would say.
That's not a lot of paper fodder there.
No, but I got A's.
Hey.
Public school, ladies and gentlemen.
And it's mostly the English degree, actually.
Oh.
I studied English.
Okay, so you can say that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Mm-hmm. We are going to talk about Goonies today. The Goonies!
Hey,
not to be confused.
Guys.
Not to be confused with Gremlins.
Why would they be?
Because
those are not the same.
Because as someone who
it's the alliteration again,
funny
isn't
that,
it?
Yes, it's funny that that I do this podcast because I really do think that you and I have a really good perspective on this, as we're both parents and we're both pretty heavily involved in media.
Yes.
And of course, we are watching and doing all the things we have to do to be ready for each one of these shows. That said, there's a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s that I missed. I never saw Die Hard. 1 or 2, if there's 2. I never saw Top Gun.
There's 4.
I want to see the new Top Gun because I heard it was amazing. I would love it, but I wanted to see the first one first, and I haven't seen either yet.
Okay.
So there's just I saw Shawshank Redemption way too late.
That
love
was
it.
The 90s.
But still, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there's all these, Caddyshack and these movies where all my friends are like, dude, it's a classic. And I'm like, okay, but at what point do I stop going back and watching all those instead of watching what's out now?
That's true.
So for me, Goonies and Gremlins, having never seen either one until 2 days ago.
You saw them both?
I just saw Goonies.
Just saw Goonies, okay.
Yeah. So I got them confused. Now I know what Goonies is, and I'm sure it was great in the 80s.
You're going to break my heart, aren't you?
No, what do you mean?
I love the Goonies. I think the Goonies is so much fun.
Okay, well, I'm sure everyone who's listening already has seen it or knows about it, but will you just give a little synopsis?
Yeah, so the basic overview of Goonies is that all of these childhood friends are living in a town that's about to be sold out for development. So everybody's houses are about to be closed down. They need money to be able to pay off the liens on their houses to avoid this foreclosure and have this developer come in and ruin everything. And in that process, they go looking for treasure. This group of friends goes looking for treasure, chased by some Italian mobsters, the Fratelli family, and they're going to look for the buried treasure of One-Eyed Willie that the main character's dad or grandfather, maybe both, was obsessed with, and they found a map in the attic, and they're going to go find this treasure. So it's really a treasure hunt movie, having all of my favorite things of childhood in there, where kids are outside riding bikes and going on adventures, and nobody's parents knows where they are, and there's a great scene with the statue of David.
What you just described to me is what I love about Stranger Things, and Stranger Things is just so much better.
Stranger Things is a Goonies knockoff.
I know, but it's better.
Oh,
I just like it better. I don't know. I have a hard time going back to watch older movies and putting myself in the place there without just wanting to be entertained.
You didn't find Goonies entertaining?
No. Chunk was hilarious.
I was going to say.
Okay. So Chunk had me cry laughing a couple of times. When you first meet him and he does the truffle shuffle, which I've been asked to do many times over the last decade as a fat joke, I think, but I didn't know what it was, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Now I do, and will absolutely do the truffle shuffle anytime someone asks me. So
Good.
totally cool and confident and comfortable with myself.
Right.
So
You're
Chunk,
body positive.
there's a scene where Chunk is being interrogated. They make it look like they're going to torture him, but they really aren't. And they're asking him to like confess to where everyone is, and he doesn't understand that, and he just starts like confessing things he did in his life. I was cry laughing. One time I puked.
And then the guy in front of him, everybody was barfing on everybody else.
I still feel really bad about it. It's like a confession.
It
with
is
these
my
three villains.
favorite scene. I love that.
I couldn't. So that part was fun and funny. I just couldn't get into it. I wonder, like these '80s things. Did they actually do all those things that they do like in the 80s? Like, did they like fix their hair like with their car mirror, or make sure their hair looked perfect when they were 9, 10, 11 years old before they went into their friend's house? Were they just hanging upside down working out to be in shape so that they could get girls? Like, that's what the 80s were like?
Well, first of all, I don't remember the 80s as well as you might hope. I'm not that old,
right?
But I remember a little bit. But like during school picture day, they used to hand out combs before school picture day. So you would comb your hair just before. Like that was a common thing, is having tidy hair sort of went out the window in the late 2000s. Those kids who are now walking around with the same haircut as their grandma.
And so hold on. So like the hair metal bands, like those kind of kids were the outcasts, who didn't do their hair well.
They
were
doing that on
crazy
purpose. Do you know how much work it takes to get your hair to stand that far
up? Oh, so
up?
that took time
There's
too.
Teasing, back combing. You know that big one of these that women were walking around with? That takes some effort. That doesn't just happen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So don't hate me, please. Everyone who's watching this, I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I think I can put myself as a 10-year-old riding around my bike, like imagining dragons chasing, like you're having this great imagination and you're out and you're like far enough away from your house where if your mom whistles, like you're probably not going to hear her, and you're just kind of like living life.
Yeah.
If I watched it when I was 10 like that, I probably would have loved it. But like watching it now, I feel, here's my example, and I know I'm going to get roasted for this, but whatever. Watching it now would be like having like a 15-year-old now watch Napoleon Dynamite. Like you're just not going to get it. No, you're not going to think it's funny. You're not going to get it.
It was cringe then.
It was cringe then, but it was funny. This like for me, Goonies, like I just couldn't get into the seemingly bad acting. Did they really? Steven Spielberg? Is that the same guy who made all these other awesome movies? And like that movie looked like it was filmed on a phone. What? I just.
That is so hurtful and unnecessary.
I'm sorry. And I know that it's like a core movie for people. So I feel bad and I feel stupid. Like, of course I'm going to not like it. I'm 35 and I watched it before I had to review it for a podcast.
Man.
I just, at the end, like make it make sense. They rip up the deed because they find some jewels. Well, how much are the jewels worth? If you handed me gold right now, I'd be like, I don't know what this is worth. Am I retiring? No, I have to go check it out.
I remember specifically you stating you have a willing suspension of disbelief.
I do.
Oh my God.
I do, except not with this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to me, I thought it was a lot. I've always loved this movie. It's always been a lot of fun. The thing that you're talking about, like, did kids really do this in the 80s? I had a babysitter, and if you see this babysitter and you know who I'm talking about, you need to like DM me because we should catch up. She was the police chief's daughter when we lived on base, and she would come over to our house and we would play the ogre lady. So like I would go to sleep for my nap, and when we woke up, she had a backpack packed and we were going to go out in the woods and we were going to go run and hide from the ogre lady who was out to get me. And it was just such a fun make-believe game that I feel like Goonies is a direct, like, it's just, we were just playing Goonies except with a different thing. And the more kids that I think see this movie now, the more opportunities they're going to have to go outside and make believe and play. I think it's a great jumping off point for that kind of thing.
See, I'm with you there, but again, watching it now, I just can't put myself in that spot.
Oh my God.
But I'm sure that's how I would feel, or a 10-year-old would feel. So for you, like, is it for kids? I was shocked. It's rated PG.
Yeah, well, that was because at that period in history, there was no PG-13.
Otherwise, you think it probably should be PG-13.
I don't know what the exact requirements are off the top of my head, but there are some swears in this movie. You got quite a few S words, some A words, couple of D words.
Couple of GD words.
Couple of GD words, yes. And there is...
And they're kids saying it.
Mm-hmm, yeah, they are. So there's that. There's definitely the language component that's there to be factored in. There's also the scene with the David where they knock the junk off and say, "That's my mom's favorite part."
And then Chunk puts it in his mouth. Did you notice that part? They never like explicitly like talk about it, but he just has it in his mouth and he's like talking and no one mentions it. It's very weird. Also, there's a scene where one of the characters, I'm forgetting, Corey Feldman.
Yeah, who they call Mouth.
Yes. He speaks Spanish, which actually I think is kind of funny. Like he just randomly is an expert in Spanish.
Miscellaneous Spanish.
And
because his housekeeper speaks Spanish.
Oh, they didn't make that clear. That's not his housekeeper in that house.
Yeah, it is. I think.
I watched it yesterday.
I don't. Okay, maybe you're right.
I mean, it just seemed
but he does speak Spanish to her. It
seemed like Sean Astin's, that's his name, right? Sean Astin.
Yeah, you know
his
right.
mom brings over this lady to help pack and clean.
Yeah, Rosalie,
she asks him to, hey, help her translate, and then he just tells her horrific stuff.
He does.
It's wild. So for me, is Goonies for kids? For me, the youngest age I would let someone watch Goonies is 10 or 11.
Okay.
10 or 11, maybe even 12, because I like the imagination part. There's a scary character who it's hard to even say that he's how would you even say that? Because I don't think he's not.
He has
it's
a
not
facial
real.
difference.
Yes, which if that's even possible, I've not seen that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is. That would when I was a kid, that would have messed me up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's sad.
And he's a great character. Ends up being a great character towards the end.
Yeah, he's definitely disabled in some way or other, and he's being poorly treated by his parents, which they're bad guys.
The parents are horrible.
They're true blue bad guys, which I'm a sucker for. I love a perfect, you have no redeeming qualities. You hate your own kids. You're the worst.
Yep.
The bad guy, Mrs. Fratelli, who's actually a bad lady, chains up her son, and one of our heroes, one of our Goonies, befriends him. They're locked up together, and he's going to take care of him. He loves him for life. So I think that's cute. But I am actually dead with you. 10 years old is where I would put this movie.
We're the same.
Yeah, I would say 10 years old is appropriate for Goonies, with a conversation about these are words that we said in the 80s. We wouldn't say them now. We had different things that we said. We don't make fun of people's bodies. We don't make jokes about these are the kinds of things that.
We don't use mirrors to look up girls' clothes.
Oh, for pity's sake. The things that we put into movies in the 80s that we didn't think anything of, and now you kind of have to have a quick conversation we've grown from that now as a society.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we don't kiss 9-year-old boys without their permission.
Oh my gosh, that was just
braces.
Cute. And Sean Astin was
awkward.
Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But alternatively, she would have been kissing Thanos.
Which is weird. I was able to watch the movie and think of how wild it is that most of them went on to have just really good careers.
Yeah.
Including some of the villains, including the Fratelli family.
Oh, really?
I recognize one of the brothers for sure. He's played that same role in multiple movies that I've seen growing up.
Nice.
Yeah. So that whole thing was very interesting to me. But we're both on the same page, 10 years old. And just,
you're going to need to have a conversation.
Like the time that my dad thought that PG-13 meant nothing in the movie, or R back in the day meant nothing, so Stripes was fine. And in the first 5 minutes, my mom's like, turn it off.
No.
So a little bit better than that, though, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely not leave this on and leave the room. But yeah.
But hey, we hope that everyone has an unbelievable Halloween.
Yes.
And fall season. Preparation for Thanksgiving, the greatest holiday of all time. The Lions play the Packers.
It's my favorite holiday.
It's crazy that it is the most important food, arguably the most important food day of the year, and we serve not even a top 10 meat. So I'm totally team make turkey breast because it's tradition, but for sure have prime rib.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, let's have some beef, please.
You know why that is, though? Turkeys are native to America.
Don't care.
Which is okay. That's why we have all these foods that are native to America.
Aren't cows native to America too?
Italy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Who knew?
I did.
You can go to isthisforkids.com and leave 5-star reviews and say, wow, John is really smart about animals.
Well, you could. And you should also mention how handsome he is and the fact that he looks great in that shirt. Some thoughts.
I have 10 of these shirts.
Wow.
So am I changing every single time? Who knows? Always check the hat. Always check the hat. Isthisforkids.com, 5 stars everywhere. Follow us at Beard of Blevins on Twitter, at MrsRuvi.
Twitter, Instagram.
On Twitter and Instagram. Yeah. And make suggestions of things you'd like to see us do. We are trying to improve every single time. And we're having a lot of fun. We hope you are too.
Thanks for coming over. Bye.